Have you ever thought if L Corp could contain scps, or vice versa? No. Too bad. Let me preface with the fact that I don't actually know too much about the lore. I didn't read the comics, and I'm only 10 levels into Limbus, but I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how abnormalities work. But Lobotomy Corporation literally leaves the containment unit doors unlocked, and the abnormalities are just real chill with it. 99% of abnormalities could probably be defeated through the use of 5x5 concrete box, and I find that real funny. However, there are two key things. 1. There's some abnormalities that require you to interact with them, and 2. The more probable threat. The corporation uses a lot of things to make the abnormalities weaker and less dangerous. If we assume our original theory was correct, then abnormalities would be virtually the same as an run-of-the-mill SCP, which the Foundation could easily deal with the main reason being that the Foundation never has to work with the abnormalities. For the abnormalities that require to work with, it depends. Express Train to Hell could easily be worked on by some D-class, but in gon be real they could not contain white-height, since they can't produce ego, and therefore cannot resist bail, but I feel like they have the intelligence to not give Plague Doctor what he requests. Now, for the interesting part, which I don't know much on, the corporation using technology to make the abnormalities less bad. I'm sure they go over it more in Limbus Company, but right now it's most impossible to actually gauge how much the technology helps. Here's what they do. Pretty nice, right? But what does it mean? A good amount of it all is random stuff like decontaminating floor, which I don't believe is very useful, so I gather them in 3 categories. The first is stuff like analyzing air quality, which I assume real doesn't matter. The second category is things like neutralizing origin configuration, which I have no idea what it means, but for the sake of time we will pretend this doesn't actually mean anything. The final category is things that I think would actually matter, like terminating desires, which I think would be very helpful. If we assume that without working on them they would constantly be trying to break out, things get a bit more interesting, but I think the Foundation is still most in the clear. I'm gonna skip over tests and sayings cause I really think the Foundation could handle it. A good example of the risk level would be all-around helper, which does 20-30 RED damage with each attack. Google AI says that human bone strength is around 10,000 to 24,000 pounds per square inch of toughness, and considering agent skilled by all-around helper literal explode, I'm gonna assume it's on the high end. Standard residential concrete ranges from 2,500 to 5,000 psi, while high-strength concrete can exceed 6,000 psi, and ultra-high-performance concrete can reach over 30,000 psi, also says Google AI. Alright, I know some of the force from all-around helper is amplified from the knives, but I don't think if you stab someone they just explode everywhere. Because of this, I'm gonna imagine that each point of red damage is around 750 psi of force. For example, an alligator's bite force varies, but can reach up to 2,980 psi, so an alligator bite would do around 4 red damage, if anybody is wondering. Keep in mind these numbers are probably real off cause I know nothing about anatomy, but by doing the math all-around helper does an average of 18,750 psi of force per attack. Assuming that the Foundation is using the top quality concrete, the chamber would probably hold up. To be honest, there's not that many walls that have straight power, but I think the best example is Little Red, which is still weak sauce and does a maximum of 15-18 damage, which we already know top quality walls can withstand, but what about Aleph? Also, I'm ignoring Snow White's apple, that doesn't count! Exclamation. Let me start by saying this: nothing there is terrifying. Its weakest attack does 18-21 damage, and when it mutates to its third phase it can do up to 300 RED damage, 225,000 psi, so yay, that concrete is shattered. Honestly, I'm not sure what the Foundation could do, but I'm sure they could pull out some classified secret weapon bullcrap, or use another anomaly to contain it. SCPs are real a mixed bag, because I feel like 30% of them are like, oh look at this world-ending thing that either was barely avoided, or hasn't happened yet. 30% are, hey look at this mundane object, which kills you brutal if you interact with it, and the final 40% is just random stuff. Obviously there are a few that L-Corp obviously couldn't contain, like 169, a fish creature as long as the diameter of Mars, but whatever. I like the other ones too, but I will only be covering a few, and I will be sticking to the entries numbered below 1001, because after that it gets a bit off the rails. I'll be comparing a few of them of ascending, or whatever order I feel like risk levels! First subject, 178, the glasses. I mean it's a pair of glasses that kills you brutal. I'm not sure what you expected. Second subject, 012, the sheet music. For people that don't know what this is, it's just an infinite sheet of sheet music that compels you to try to finish it with your own blood. Honest, I could see some poor level 2 agent being sacrificed to this to put a box over it, but it's basically just we can change anything, but without the energy reward. Third subject, 173, the statue. Nothing the corporation hasn't dealt with. It could easily kill a few random people, but obviously they dealt with it before it couldn't be that bad. Fourth subject, 457. I mean it's just an evil guy who's perpetual on fire. I'm sure they have fire extinguishers somewhere in there. Fifth subject, 055. Obligatory joke about forgetting. Sixth subject, 106, the Acid Man. He could easily go on a rampage and proceed to escape and start killing random people in the city, but eventually I imagine somebody would realize he can't pass through magnetized metals and he would be easily recaptured, never to escape again, probably. Seventh subject, 682. I mean L-Corp has dealt with worse. I'd put him on about the same level as Apocalypse Bird, but I feel like just get all the LF wielders into the facility to dice him into 2,000 pieces when he reaches. Anyway, in conclusion, the SCP Foundation could probably handle most abnormalities, and vice versa. It's almost as if they were designed to contain the things they are containing! Alright, bye.